Hi everyone, it's Gio for footballbook.ca. Welcome back. It is wildcard weekend of the 2011 NFL season. That means there's only 4 games this week, so I took an extra day to study it. I wanted to do my due diligence, so I'm going to offer you the 4 ATS picks and my 4 over-under picks. Here they are. The first game we're going to look at is on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock as Cincinnati goes to Houston, where the Texans are 3-point favorites at home, and the over-under number is 38.5. Now, it's a good thing that I actually took an extra day to do this, because on Wednesday night, we found out that Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton had to go to the hospital with flu-like symptoms. Now, he's going to be all right. He will play. But you know how debilitating the flu is. You're always throwing up. You get very weak. And it means that he's going to miss valuable practice time. And this is doubly important since Cincinnati is going on the road on a short week. Now, these two teams played already in week 14, it was. The Texans squeaked out a 20-19 win in the last 2 seconds of the game. But there's some things I want you to consider. In that game, it was in Cincinnati, and the Texans actually outgained Cincinnati. I think it was 412 to 285, something like that. You know, turnovers really cost Houston in that game. They fumbled the ball at Cincinnati's 1-yard line, and the Bengals went 99 yards the other way for a 14-point swing. Also, wide receiver Andre Johnson did not play in that game for the Texans. He'll be back. He'll be the best player on the field. Also, the best unit on the field by far is going to be the Texans' defense. The Bengals are 0-7 straight up against playoff teams this year, and they're only 1-5-1 against the spread in those games. The one game that they did cover was early in the year against Denver. That was before Tim Tebow, and they still lost that game. You know, Houston limped into the playoffs, and a lot of people are worried about that. But, you know, you think about it, they were without their defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips, for weeks 15 and 16 games, who had an operation. And then last week, having nothing to play for, they rested a bunch of starters, and they played against a Titans team that had to win that game in order to make the playoffs, and they still almost pulled it off. So I'm not that worried. You know, Cincinnati are actually 5-2 to the over in the 7-game playoff games that we talked about. They averaged 23.5 points on the road as well. I'm not sure they're going to score that many against a very good Houston defense. I'm going to predict the score is going to be Houston 28, Cincinnati 20. So take Houston -3 and take over the 38.5 points. The second Saturday game has Detroit going to New Orleans, where the Saints are 10.5-point favorites at home. That number's 59. These two teams played back in week 13. The Saints beat Detroit 31-17. A low-scoring game by the Saints standards, but they still beat Detroit by 2 touchdowns. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the Saints were coming off the Monday nighter from the week before where they beat the Giants. And the Lions were coming off playing Thursday night the week before in one of those Thanksgiving Day games. So they had 10 days to prepare to New Orleans 6. The Lions are 1-5 straight up and 1-5 against the spread against playoff teams this year, and they're on a 1-5 against the spread run. Meanwhile, the Saints are 8-0 at home. They've won 8 straight, and they've covered 8 straight. This is a juggernaut who would be the #1 team in the league right now. The #1 ranked team had that game, week 1 game against the Packers, been in New Orleans. They almost won that game, by the way. 7 of the 8 of the home games that New Orleans have won have been by 11 points or more. The only exception was against Houston early in the year, and Houston's a much better team than Detroit. This is when Matt Schaub was still playing, and Mario Williams, and Andre Johnson wasn't hurt at the time. And apart from that, they've won by 11 points or more in the rest of their home games. Detroit's actually 7-1 over in their road games. That one game that they were under was that game against the Saints, and I told you why that happened. I think the Saints are going to throw up their usual 45 points. I don't know how many Detroit will score, but conservatively, I'm going to say the Saints will win this game 45-20. So take the Saints -10.5 and take over 59. The first of the Sunday games is at 1 o'clock, where Atlanta goes to New York. The Giants are 3-point favorites at home, and that number is 47. The Giants are actually healthy, about as healthy as they've been all year. Ahmad Bradshaw, the running back, is about 100%. And although he doesn't run the ball for a lot of yards, he does give quarterback Eli Manning the play action option. Speaking of Eli Manning, he's going to have his full contingent of receivers as Mario Manningham returns to the lineup, and along with Victor Cruz and Hakeem Nicks. That's a pretty potent offense. Atlanta, meanwhile, Tony Gonzalez, God bless him, but he's getting very old. Julio Jones is a rookie. Roddy White is still very good, but he's alone out there. Michael Turner had 172 yards rushing last week, but that was against Tampa Bay. And you could have probably rushed for at least half of that. No offense to Michael Turner, but if you look at the numbers previous to that game, they're not that impressive. Atlanta's 3-5 against the spread on the road this year, and although it's not going to be a really cold day necessarily this Sunday, Atlanta's still a dome team, and they are playing outdoors in January. I think the Giants should handle this game pretty easily, kind of like they did against Dallas. The score should be about 27-13. So take New York Giants -3, and I'm going to buck the trend a little bit, and I'm going to say take the under 47. And the fourth game has Pittsburgh going to Denver, where the Steelers are 8.5-point favorites on the road, and the number there is 34. As usual, the Steelers are banged up, especially Ben Roethlisberger. But unlike other injuries where he's had a broken nose or a busted rib, this is a high ankle sprain. This is going to really limit Big Ben's mobility, especially because he won't be able to hand off the ball to Rashad Mendenhall, who will be out, the running back, and same with his backup, Mewelde Moore. This will leave Von Miller, the linebacker who was probably going to be the defensive rookie of the year, and defensive end Elvis Dumervil. They should be able to sack Big Ben several times. You know, Roethlisberger's last 3 games, he has not covered. Twice against Cleveland, and in one game he lost to San Francisco and looked really bad. The one game that they did win and cover was against the Rams 2 weeks ago. That was with Charlie Batch at quarterback, and that was the Rams. This is also will be back-to-back road games for Pittsburgh, and even good teams don't always win back-to-back. I'm not saying that they're going to upset Denver or anything, but it's something for you to think about with a high spread. Now, Denver is definitely limited on offense, especially with Tim Tebow running the show, but they can run the ball. I think they'll keep it close with that number 1 running game of theirs. I predict a low-scoring game. I think Pittsburgh will probably pull it out, say 16-10. So take Denver plus 8.5 and take the under 34. Okay, so those are my picks for Wild Card Weekend. Good luck to you. I haven't taken too much of the man's money the last couple of weeks. However, I did win $5 off of my sister-in-law. Thanks, Ida. So I took the woman's money, but that's not what we're here to do. You know what we're here to do, and that's to take the man's money, and that's what we're going to do. For footballbook.ca, I'm Gio. Let's take the man's money.